Good, thank you.
What was it like watching that one?
It was the same as watching any game. You make your evaluations, and there's a lot of things we did well that we'll build upon, but there's also a lot of mistakes that were made in the game that we need to correct, and that's part of the process. We always have a very thorough examination post-game, and it's the same as every week, whether you win or you lose. So that's kind of how we go through the process.
What were the corrections? I assume missed tackles part of that.
There was a lot. There was especially in the secondary. So really, what Washington State does is they get the ball into space, and when you look at where we were from a tackling standpoint, we could have negated a lot of gains with that. Positives is our guys did a really good job of creating turnovers. Even in the tackling phase of things, what Chris Barnes did and a couple of other guys, Elijah Gates. But we, the missed tackles were certainly part of our defense that we have to clean up.
How did the team go from having 2 takeaways in 3 games to 6-1? I mean,
a lot of it goes to the ball being exposed, and so we knew that kind of going in the way, and our defensive staff did a really good job emphasizing all week of how to attack the way they carry the football and to get after them from that standpoint. So, and I've always been at places where sometimes there's a drought and then they come in bunches. It's never really a consistent that it's one turnover each game for the entire season. It's sometimes you get a slew of them in one game and you don't get a lot in another game, and it's just kind of how to, as I said Saturday, sometimes that ball bounces in a really different way. And the cool part of forced fumbles is I've been in games where we forced 4 or 5 fumbles but didn't recover any of them. So it's not a turnover. The fumble was caused, but we didn't recover it. So it was unique. I think we were joking with Josh Woods earlier. He was kind of like a magnet. He ended up coming up with 3 of them. But a lot of what Josh did, even the last one, the second to last one, when Chris stripped the receiver, Josh was rushing the passer, but it was a byproduct of his effort in turning and running to the football, which you practice every day. But with 2 minutes and 38 seconds to go in the game, he's really doing it. So when the ball came out, the official ruled him down. So when it goes to review, there has to be an immediate recovery, and there was an immediate recovery because of how many guys we had running to the football.
So when you broke down the offense, I think you scored on 6 consecutive drives. I know one of those was special teams, but what was? I know there's probably a lot of different things, but were there any themes to what was clicking with the offense?
Yeah, very simple execution. I thought we protected Dorian really well in those situations. I think when you look at the stats, when we had a clean pocket, his numbers were kind of off the charts. So I thought our offensive line did a really good job from that standpoint, and I think he delivered the ball. The other thing, I think, besides Felt on one flat pass, we didn't have any drops on the day, so I think our receivers did a really good job of not only creating separation at the top of the stem, but when they got there, catching the football. And that's sometimes just given all the time, but it's not that easy. Chase made a couple catches with people in close quarter contacts. Same thing with Kyle and some of the other guys. But I thought Dorian really delivered the football, and I thought we really just executed all 11 guys, not just one guy. And that's what we talked about from a consistency standpoint is, in a lot of plays we're one play away, and one guy away from being what we need to be. So, and felt like we could execute. I mean, I think the play at the end of the first half was really kind of a microcosm of the first half of our season. We throw a Hail Mary pass that gets tipped and we catch it, and he goes down and he gets tackled, and great effort by him to stay up and goes down on the half-yard line. We don't get any points out of it, but that's what I told the kids at halftime. We're close. We just got to continue to keep executing and keep staying the course. So.
When Dimitri had that 100-yard kickoff return, you haven't been real aggressive in kickoff returns. What goes into whether he returns it or not? In
depth of the kick, type of kick that's made, placement of where the ball is in the field, type of return that's set up. Is it in our strike zone, not in our strike zone? There's a lot that goes involved in it. It's not just hey, just 4 catches for the heck of it. So there's a lot that goes involved in it, and I think where they put the kick in location of their kick. How they cover it, what their lanes are like when they cover it, what our blocking scheme to attack those lanes are, and then where the ball is placed in the strike zone, out of the strike zone is really a lot of part of it.
When things started turning your way in the third quarter, was there a change in scheme, or did you stick with that game plan?
No, we stuck with the same game plan.
With Dimitri, what was it about him that made you want to get him as involved as you can?
Well, everything is earned here, so he earned his playing time. Obviously, when Josh getting banged up a little bit in camp, we needed some depth and wanted how could we create depth. And obviously there's no waiver wire and there's no trades that are made, so you always have to look within your program. You know, he had experience. He's always practiced it a little bit, but really practiced it from just, you know, during handoffs. He was over here getting handoffs, but he spent all his time with the receivers, met with the receivers. So, you know, we made that move, I don't know, first week, second week of camp to kind of permanently put him in the running back room just to see where he can continue to develop. And then every day you could see him, and you saw flashes of him like, oh, okay, you know, he's got some instinctive skills. He's always been really good with the ball in his hands. So, you know, just really continued to develop and say, all right, you know, I think we're trying to permanently keep him here. So I think, you know, it added, and we've always been searching for a guy that can help Josh, because Josh can't play 70 snaps a game, you know, no running back time. So, you know, I think we feel like we've got, you know, two legitimate threats at that position.
Ashaq Williams, can you talk about his performance?
Yeah, you know, he got his first extended playing time, and, you know, that's what happens when you're a young team. We had a lot of guys get a lot more significant playing experience Saturday. And I thought, for the most part, did a good job. You know, obviously, it's the ultimate game to go in as a DB if you're going to go first extensive playing time and against a team that's going to throw the ball every down, and that's what he did. And I thought there was a lot of good. There's some we have to clean up, but, you know, there's a lot to build upon there. So, you know, we're excited a little bit about bringing him along and growing him with the rest of that group.
What was the sideline infraction on the kickoff return? What happened there?
What's that? The official ran into one of our operations guys.
He was too far
Out in the white, and you're not allowed to be in the white. So.
Were you worried that was going to wipe out the...
No, it's not. The penalty is assessed on the kickoff, but it still doesn't help you. So we need to clean that up.
What's the status on Theo Howard and Quentin Lake?
We'll see this week kind of where they are in terms of where they are. I don't have a status update. Nothing's changed from last week, so we'll see, you know, kind of how they progress and what happens with them this week.
Michael Hobbs, is he out for long?
Mike is out for a while.
Okay, and what about Kazmi Allen? Is there any update on his
No,
situation?
when I have an update, I'll give it to you next day.
Coach, is this, would you consider this, like, you scored this many points, so your score line is 14, 14, 14, 67.
Mm-hmm.
Do you go to the kids and tell them this is what you can do? Is this a turning point for the team?
Yeah, we should score 67 in every game we play. No, I mean, you don't do that. I think we take every game individually and assess it how you do it. The defenses that you play are different. The personnel on their defenses are different. So every game has its own identity, has its own way of expressing itself, and that's just a byproduct of what occurred on Saturday. And fortunately for us, in a shootout game, we were prepared to play in a shootout game and capitalized on it. But, you know, last week's game doesn't have any bearing on this week's game, and that's what I think our players have to understand. We played well last Saturday because we practiced well during the week. So, you know, that's the real correlation that we're trying to hit home with our players. So.
When you have a win like that, do you have to say anything extra to make sure guys turn the page and shift their focus to the next opponent instead of looking backwards?
I mean, we'll see. This is our first day back with them, so we didn't get back till 5 a.m. Yesterday on Sunday, so this Sunday's their day off. And today's our first day back, so we'll see. But I think these kids get it. They understand it. And when you're involved in football, you only get 12 opportunities during the regular season. So you can't afford to spend too much time, whether it's a win or a loss, on the last game, because that affects your preparation for the next game. So, you know, you whether you win, you got 24 hours to enjoy it, and then if you lose, you got 24 hours to kind of feel sad about it. But then you got to move on. You know, it's got to be a forward-moving operations. All right, guys. Thanks.